Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Gemini. If Gemini is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's see. What do these tea leaves have to say? All right. And so our card tonight is the Eight of Swords. Okay, and this is related to interference. This is a card of restlessness, unsettled interior places, feelings, emotions, emotional chaos. Just kind of things feel a little bit messy. Okay. All right, and I'm just kind of looking at this. And so I hope that you all are doing well. You know, the thing about cards that have kind of difficult messages is that at least that they are coming into the consciousness. It usually, in my eyes, means that there's some kind of active role in trying to resolve these things, get through them, end them, you know, kind of figure it out. Find some kind of peace within it all. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, because sometimes these problems can be lingering and we don't want to look at them. We know something's not right. We know something is building up, but we don't want to face it, you know. And, you know, for me, I'm an emotional person. I like to talk about, as soon as something makes me feel weird or I'm upset, you know, I get all twisted up, I want to talk about it, because I'm not carrying that stuff around with me anymore. You can't make me do it. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to get it out. You know, I try to be as nice and, not nice, but I try to be as, what's the word? You know, understanding, open, trying to see my own role in things, you know, this kind of stuff. But oh my goodness, you have to work on communicating, letting things out. They become blockages. They really do. And I will be DAMED. DAMNED. Yeah, you know, it's just not I'm sorry. I have to admit, I'm at the end of my Sunday night. We've had such a long weekend, and I'm like trying to spell things, and you know, it happens. So I want to look at this. Okay, I want to look at these first. Okay, so I see the eyes. They look a little menacing, right? The little nose, it looks very sharp. You know, the eyes have been on you. Okay, you have been, somebody has been keeping an eye on you, keeping tabs on you. And I want to look at this immediately up here. I see kind of, it looks like a dog or some kind of, you know, canine being attacked by another canine. Okay. And I see part of a heart here. And so this makes me think this is somebody you love who has kind of been on the attack with you. I also feel like there's been a violation of your boundaries, of your private life. You know, that real like boundary stomping kind of behavior, an invasion of privacy. And I get that from these eyes. this kind of attack scene up here, okay? And I think that this is something like, and I'm seeing these birds up here, and I feel like this is kind of like, you know, the little bird bringing the message. So I feel that this has to do with maybe somebody going through your personal communications, maybe your phone, your social media, you know, I don't know, maybe your diary or something like this, but doing it without your permission, okay? Or, I mean, it could be that they really pushed the issue and you felt like you were kind of forced into letting them do this. Now, I have a lot of opinions about about the whole thing with the phones and people in relationships, not whatever, parents looking, you know, family members, whatever it is. Everybody deserves their privacy, their private life. Now with kids, of course, we have to watch out for what they're doing. But I think that it can be to a point sometimes where it's overstepping. We live in this like culture of really kind of surveilling each other, okay, for better or worse. I don't know. But what I do know, and I'm a very private person to some degree about some things, right? Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I deserve to have privacy like anybody else. Because in my private spaces, that is where I create. That is where I experience things that I need to sort out in myself without people watching, without somebody else witnessing, right? And I feel like that's important for each and every person, no matter what. So if you're married or not, you know, if you have an understanding that you're allowed to look. Now, I do think transparency is important. Of course, there needs to be trust within relationships, boundaries, rules, agreed upon rules. But do I think that people should be going through each other's personal communications or, you know, looking at people's things, especially if they're doing it without permission or they're like, you know, sneaking in the phone and looking and stuff? I don't. I really think that is, I mean, if you're driven to that point, the likelihood that you're going to find something you don't like is probably, you know, you're an intuitive being, right? So you need to trust yourself, you know? But when this happens to you, especially when you aren't doing anything or it's unprovoked, it starts to become kind of a dynamic of jealousy, control. It's very romantic to believe that you could be in a relationship where you share every single little thing, every little thought, every aspect of yourself is intertwined with somebody. But when you actually live that way, it can get real murky between, healthy kind of codependency stuff, which sometimes, the dynamic of codependency maybe isn't ideal for everybody, but you can make it work to some degree, right? But you have to have some ounce of individuality, autonomy. When you get into a place where it is like everything's on display all the time, I mean, I understand because I have that impulse. I'm like a person deeply romantic in the idea of, merging into one being and this like internal unification and, but who can actually live that way and be happy? We are our own people. We are on our own paths. There's something much more romantic about choosing every single day to be with somebody that you love and respect, and you want them to be their own person. You want them to have their own experience in life, and you want them to choose you as well, you know? So then when this happens to you and somebody violates your sacred spaces, your things, that can be really destabilizing. It can feel so invasive, so, traumatic. And if you've had this pattern in other relationships, if you've been in very controlling relationships, when this starts to emerge in your new relationship or this current relationship, that can be super damaging. So I feel like you are in a place where it feels like your momentum, your light is a bit, not dimmed, but it's like somebody's standing in the way of your light, right? Because they're interfering with your will, with your ability to live as you want to live, you know? Whatever you have in those personal things, that is for you. That's for you. And, I know this is a sticky subject because listen, I have been the one to look in private messages before. I'm not going to say I'm a saint. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I've done that, definitely. And you know what? It felt really bad. It really did. And it created even deeper mistrust because I couldn't even trust myself, So I totally am not, saying it's like you're a bad person if you do this. But I also have been on the receiving end of it where I have been feeling like, oh, okay, I feel like this is a violation. I should not have to show you things, Thankfully, in this marriage I have, it's not like that. And that's why I am so adamant about this is not okay anymore. It is nice to be with somebody who I trust. Somebody that trusts me. And I choose to trust. I don't need evidence. You know what I mean? But I also love my husband. If he decides to do something, that's on him. Not on me. That's not about me. That's about you. Right? So, I think that this has been difficult for you. Okay? And here's the thing. When this happens, because of the culture that we live in, people talk about this like this is a normal thing to do. To be going through your boyfriend's phone, your girlfriend's phone, your family member's stuff, reading journals and places where people felt like they could, share with themselves like the things that they need to purge from themselves. It's, that's difficult. That's hard. And so I see here a person on kind of a bike. It almost looks like they're like humming a little tune. I feel like there's really this impulse, like this is going to be detrimental to this relationship, and you kind of had the impulse to get out of there. Like, this is not going to work. Okay, and I never tell anybody, okay, just like bail on your relationship. But I think that, if you do want to work on fixing this, there has to be some strong boundaries. You have to be able to let them know that you will not, if you are not okay with this, that you're not going to, that you're not going to put up with it in the future. you know, and talk about, what do we do here? What provoked this? You know, what made you think that this was going to be something that I would accept? You know, what can I do to make you feel like you don't have to do this kind of thing? And if it is a reasonable thing, then we can work on that, right? But if it's not, then that's something that you're going to have. This sounds like a you thing. You're going to have to work this out with yourself. Come on, buddy. I know you want to come say hi so bad. Everybody writes about you in the comments, don't they? Okay, come on. Oh, goodness, that boy. So, this isn't the easiest thing. I know. But I feel like, you know, this is, when these things arise, there is an opportunity, and I see a heart right here. Okay, we have a heart, and we have like 2 wings on it, and it's right in that emotional space. I really believe that sometimes when this stuff, which really sucks, and it really gets sticky and kind of icky and emotional, and really just can make you feel, you know, I don't know, paranoid. I do. I feel paranoid about this kind of stuff. I don't like it. I don't like people paying too much attention to me. Or, you know, I want to be able to express myself privately, especially like in journaling and my magical work and these kinds of things. And I want that for everybody else, you know. But I do think that this brings up an opportunity to work out some of that underlying stuff, because this is not the problem. I mean, it's a symptom, right? Something else is going on that needs to be worked out. The beginning talks need to happen. And, you know, these emotions need to be put out there. These thoughts need to be put out there and processed. Maybe even going to some kind of therapist, counselor, you know, whatever. If you have the opportunity or privilege to be able to make use of that kind of support. So now I'm seeing an F, and I see a little bird next to it. Come on. You have to get down, buddy. Come on. You're not the star of this show. No, no, no. All right. And I see a person standing beneath, kind of holding this up. It almost looks like they're holding up a perch, right? And I feel like this is, I get this like idea of somebody holding up like balancing something that has a little perch on it, and a bird coming and sitting, and it's kind of this like balancing act. And I feel like there's something, you know, within like your work life, emotional life, your domestic life, your love life, your family life, all these things, you are just balancing everything as best as you can. Okay? And I feel like, you know, you're not getting enough. That's not what I'm working up to. But what I'm working up to is that you are just trying. You're trying and trying and trying. And if one thing really throws everything else off, it feels like, you know, in your mind anyways, emotionally, you're feeling like everything else is going to come falling down. All those little plates and everything are going to come falling down. That bird is going to fly away. You know, all of the peace that I have is going to be thrown off. Well, I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think that we think these things, but when something arises in our life that's like a thorn, or not a thorn, a splinter, right? Starts to get a little bit irritated, almost infected. but your body's trying to push it out, right? And this is kind of like why these kinds of things arise in our relationships, because we have to get whatever it is that is souling that relationship out of there. We got to figure it out. And you have the ability, you're a multifaceted being, very talented being, very intelligent being, emotionally developed being. You can handle this. You can figure this out. It feels like not good. Does not feel good at the beginning, but working through it, it's going to be better. It'll either make you stronger or it will allow you the space to decide to move away from this. That's up to you. Now, I think the F has to do with a name. I don't know. Maybe it's somebody, usually with the birds, it feels like it's somebody who loves you, who has passed, that is supporting you, especially because they're perched. A sense of like, I'm part of this whole life thing you have going on. I'm there. I'm pulling for you. I'm supporting you. I have your back. And there's a lot of love. You have so much love, Gemini. Every time I do a Gemini reading, I just know how much you love to connect with people. And maybe, this is part of what's going on, is that you have somebody in your life that doesn't like how social you are, or your ability to connect with other people, even if it's not romantic. You are a good friend. You are a deeply soulful person. You thrive on interactions with others that are on your level, that have, the same energies. And sometimes when you bring somebody into your life who can't understand that, it's a mess, and they can become quite aggressive because they're feeling, insecure about their own stuff, their own emotional baggagey, life experience stuff. And so we have another bird, and this one looks like a little songbird. And, I think it's just singing that tune of peace. I feel like on the other side of this, really, this feels like a big deal right now. And it is, because it's a violation of your privacy, your space. And if it escalates, that's no good. So it has to be dealt with in some way. But I do think that this will pass. You're going to be on to the next thing, in a week or two. Like life is, right? You get into these fights. You try to figure them out. Hopefully you make good use of them. And you're better for it. Okay? So I think you'll be back on your merry path, doing your thing. Not feeling so, distraught very quickly. But don't forget how this made you feel. Don't let people get away with this kind of stuff in your life. And even if you have done this yourself and you've decided, I don't want to do this kind of thing. Oh, and there's my cat. I shut the door tonight and she's not having it. But, even if you feel like, oh, I'm a hypocrite, you know what? We're allowed to make mistakes and decide, like, okay, going forward, I don't want to be like this. And then it happens, on the reverse side. Still, those boundaries have been set. They need to be reaffirmed and talked about. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much. I wish this was like a happier, more peaceful reading, but it happens. Sometimes we get those cards, we get those formations and symbols that tell a different story. So maybe next week we'll have some puppies and rainbows. Crossing my fingers. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, It helps us get in the algorithm, and we're doing so well. We're growing the channel. I think I've already said that we've hit 10K. We're really growing here as a community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing so. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos come out. Other than that, if you want to leave a comment, I love hearing from each and every one of you. I read every single comment, and I try to get back to them really quickly. Sometimes it takes me a minute. I always have a lot of stuff going on here. So I do be lagging a bit. But anyways, I want to thank you. We will talk again really soon, Gemini. I'm sending you so much love.